Welcome back to Addicted to Recovery, the podcast bringing you the truth about addiction. I'm Chris White. I am joined as ever by my dear friend, co-host and fellow recovering addict, Max Thomas. How are you, bro?
What's happening, man? Yeah, I'm good. You?
Great. Good day today?
Yeah. No, it's been
mate.
a good one, man.
It has been a good day.
Sun's shining.
Sun's out.
It's such a difference, doesn't it?
Oh, it's massive.
It's been,
Yeah.
grim.
It's been grim. And there's a bit of light on the horizon, mate.
There's some light in the room as well.
There's some light in the room. He's sitting over there. My guy, Mr. Sonny Green. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome.
What's happening?
How we doing, mate?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much.
Good. Thanks for coming on. Look, when we first started this, we was like, Sonny can talk.
Yeah.
Let's get Sonny on.
Yeah, there's no shutting me up when I get started, mate.
Yeah.
We got similar sort of clean time, Sonny, haven't we? Like I was just saying before we got on, I think that was one of the big memories I had when I came into recovery was at your first meeting, mate. And I'd done it. Yeah, it might be a good place to start potentially, or you want to go back to your childhood or wherever it is, really.
Yeah, well, I'll be 6 years on the 19th of June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and what a journey it's been.
Yeah.
What a journey it's been. So just very grateful that I'm here still, man.
Yeah,
still about, still doing my thing, still clean.
Yeah.
And yeah, that first meeting, that first time I walked in, I'll never forget my mate who brought me to the meetings. Unfortunately, he's still out and about, but he's doing better than he was.
Yeah.
And he took me to my first meeting, and I kind of laughed at him. I was trying to get a couple of days clean. And he just says, "Look, Sonny, I'm going to these meetings." And it was only a few weeks before that we was doing all sorts of manner of things.
Yeah.
And when he said he was going to meetings and that, I just thought, you ain't serious, And then I went with him, and yeah, it was just absolutely mind blowing. I just couldn't believe that there was so many people who said, but I mean, now I believe them, but who said they were completely clean of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
it was just
baffling, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just like, what? There's like 40 people here who are literally like saying they're a year clean, or 6 months, or 10 years,
That's
or
it.
whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And my background is just like, that's just...
You don't get it.
No, it's just completely weird. It's like, what? There's people out here who actually do this whole like adult life thing without any drugs or alcohol, not even a drink. What?
Yeah, that was always my problem. Adult life.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do.
Yeah. And I can understand when people ain't addicts, I can understand why as well. Like, just to take the edge off life or whatever. Especially if they haven't got any high power, or they haven't got any program, and they're just completely winging it on their own self-will. Yeah. It's like, of course, a drug or drink makes sense.
Yeah, a little crutch.
Yeah. But for someone like myself and ourselves, I'll always just speak for myself, It's just whatever I do is not... It's just all or nothing. So
we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I can't do that.
But even from your first meeting, it was a spiritual experience that I saw, definitely. I remember I was sitting opposite you, and you opened your mouth for the first time, and all I can explain to you, Chris, it was just an outpour of emotion that I've never ever seen before in my life. It was like, you might have a different opinion on it, but it was like it was years and years. It looked like years and years and years of pain, feelings, just fucking. You were able for the first time in a long time to open your mouth and be honest. And this is the real me. This is really what's going on. That's what it looked like to me, Sonny.
Yeah, well, because obviously I'll take it back. Like, growing up. My main thing is all around is around my family. My dad was a heroin and crack addict, and my mum was an addict, and everyone was addicts basically. And although my dad was my best friend, it was short. I think he had passed away by then, so I was still grieving and I was still going through that.
Yeah.
And I very much blame crack and heroin and alcohol for like killing my dad, which it did, but it was my dad who killed him, who used the drugs.
The disease of addiction.
It was the disease that killed him, and I was still going over it all.
Yeah.
But I had this hate, like I wanted to just take out every like shot in my area,
Yeah. So this is before you had an understanding of the program.
Before I had any understanding of the program or anything like that, or the disease of addiction. I just literally thought, there's. Yeah, and at that time as well, I was still getting to grips with the whole fact that You know, all drugs, basically, if you're an addict, you'll use all drugs and alcohol the same, whatever. Like, like in the fellowship, we don't see the difference.
What you saying? You wanted to still be able to smoke weed? Because that's what I thought.
Well, yeah. I kind of did it, but I just, and you know what it's like. You see different drugs take their effect on different people differently. But when you see people get clean, and not only that is when also you get clean, and then you look at people and you're like, right, actually, nah, what you actually and you're like, and then you come into the rooms and you meet people that are like full-time or have been full-time heroin addicts, and you're like, what? You was a full-time heroin addict? And they're like, yes, I was a full-time heroin addict. Yes, I used to go and have a boot up. I'm like, oh, boom. And then you see your mate who's still out there blazing and that, and you think, mate, you look a lot worse than some of the full-time heroin addicts I know.
Exactly.
So it you kind of get an education. Like it's like an education around different drugs and alcohol in the rooms, because usually you just see like hardcore street junkies. And you just think you associate certain drugs with certain people and certain things.
And misconceptions.
Misconceptions. And although so look, I was born in 1994 in Southend, born and bred, and my dad just got out of prison, and because he'd got out of prison, he was like pretty fertile. Him and my mum had been seeing each other previously before that anyway, and like I got conceived and all that, and it was on the Kersal estate, and my dad was like a bit of a lad. He was a doorman, and he was a shotter on all round like Talk nightclub, Sandy Road. And at first it all started off well, and he had a reputation for doing whatever he was doing. And my earliest memory was being taken away by the police about 4 years old, going round a roundabout on Sutton Road, being taken from my dad's house back to my mum's, and that's when social services and everyone got involved with my life.
4,
5, yeah.
It's early, mate.
Yeah, so that was my early memory. Before that, there was an early memory before that is my mum coming to my dad's house, kicking off because of what she'd been hearing, because my dad was out there using hard drugs or whatever, and people had been talking about it, but he still had me. So I was around all that.
Right.
At that age.
Yeah.
And I remember another early memory is my dad being sick in the toilet, like just being sick all the time. I'm thinking, what's wrong with my dad? But the first few early years of that, my dad was like the best dad ever. Like he'd play with me, he'd get me all the army soldiers. So basically what had happened is my dad was one of his mad mates. They'd driven up to Basildon to go shoplifting for Action Men. The story was that they both got arrested, and when the police come, I was found like in a room like as a little
500 Action Men.
Like they got caught for that.
Oh,
with,
okay,
drug paraphernalia and everything like that in the room or whatever. So that's why I got put in. Why I got took
Jesus,
into my
mate.
mum's.
Look, that's trauma early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you didn't know it.
And like, I know it's deep. Like, I don't even have these conversations like with my nan and everything. Like, this is like, so it's a bit of a mad me speaking about it. And not only that, is I love my dad, by the way. My dad was a legend, and I honour him. And he was a stonemason. It was written on my birth certificate. He was actually, I get people come up to me saying, your dad is just so good. Like, loads of amazing, beautiful stories as well, but the drugs got him. When he was a kid, he used to play in goal for Leyton Orient and Watford. He was a sportsman. He was an athlete. He was intelligent. He was, he was like 6'2", strong, like gorgeous, like everything.
Yeah, but Sonny, we can relate.
Of course, exactly. Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's very easy for me to come in and sit and say my dad was a junkie, but he wasn't just a junkie.
Yeah.
So I'm not having that, and I'm not having it seen as like I'm dishonouring him. No. I only share the story because it's part of my testimony. It's part of his testimony.
You got to paint the whole picture.
Yeah, and not only that, my granddad died in my nan's bed when my dad was 13. My granddad had a heart attack in my nan's bed when he was 32 due to this disease. So my dad was left with, like, at 13, dealing with his dad dying in his house of a heart attack because of drugs. They used to go around, like, doing all sorts of mad things in the 70s and that, to get their drugs and everything. And it was like prescription pills and stuff like that. And he was all mental as well. Like, you know, my nan had my
Well,
dad.
this stuff runs in family.
Yes, yeah, it runs in family. So my nan was 15 when she had my dad. So she was 28 when her first husband died. My dad was 13. My nan was a manager of a pub. So my dad was at the pub every night when he was 13, trying to protect his 28-year-old mum, who was also gorgeous because good looks run in the family as well. So he was trying to protect my nan.
Yeah.
And I was drinking. He was playing
of course.
pool. So he was an alcoholic from 13.
Normalised, yeah.
So, you know, what real chance did he have? And then when he later on in life, when he got proper, you know, when he'd be out of his head, he'd turn into that young lad who's just lost his dad, you know. And at one point it was like, yeah, it was deep. It was like I was kind of like, you know, fathering him kind of thing. But that was later on. So anyway, that was one of my earliest memories, going around that roundabout in the police car, being took to my mum's, thinking, what's going on? Because I still didn't really understand any of it. And I just knew that, like my dad loved me, and I loved my dad. He was my best friend, you know. And then I was at my mum's, and my mum again, just, my mum's still alive, yeah, thank God, and I love her, and she's a legend. She still lives on the Kersal. Everyone in Southend knows her. She's got a heart of gold, you know, absolute legend. But we is dysfunctional, man.
Yeah.
Like I was walking myself to school when I was in year 2. Like my sister would cook me dinners from when she was like 8. My mum didn't really have, her upbringing was mad. She was on ITV News for running away when she was like 12, 13. She used to take like mad acid pills and like climb trees and that. She was just like mad. When I was like in school, I said to mum, I was in secondary school, I said, Mum, like, you know, like dad's like a proper crackhead, like, do you know what I mean? He's a full on. She was like, so what? He smokes a bit of white, chill out. I was like, what, are you joking? It was like, she literally turned around to me one day, was walking through it, and I'd never forget it. I was in like year 8, I think I was about 12 or 13. I said, you do realise when I go to like see dad at weekends and that, like, he's still like bang at it. And she's like, what, he smokes a bit of white? It's like, so what? And I'm just like, that's not normal, Mum. Like, none of my other friends are having to deal with this crap. I just want nice trainers and that, yeah, and like a normal life. Because I was super intelligent at school. You know, I went for my 11 plus at Southend High, and I like, only just didn't get in. I was always top set for everything. I was always high performing. I was like always with the most like, I was with the clever kids, yeah. And I was great at sports. I was talented. I went, you know, loads of different things, and I'd always lie. So I'd go into school, and everything was always normal. Right, no one ever knew
of course,
that I was dealing with this stuff at home. No
Suppressing all that
from
then.
primary school. From primary school, no one knew nothing. Yeah, that was just it. I'd go in, and this is from when I think about it now. Like my son's in reception, but and funny enough, he goes to the same primary school. But when I was in like year 1 and 2 and 3, I'd be like, yeah, my dad's the best. Like my dad was Superman, mate. I told all the kids he was the man. Anyway, it got into sports day, yeah. And I remember I was training my dad for sports day when I was in year 2, when I was like 7. And I was training him, I was 6 or 7. I was training, he was running up and down. And my dad, that's the sort of geezer he was, yeah. He would still try, like, and he'd still like, he'd get all his mates together, like, and they'd all be like, you know, skull soup, cans of K, whatever. And he'd go, right, you all come and play football with my son, yeah? And he'd get them all up, and we'd set up in separate teams, and we'd have like big football matches and that. And I'd be like running the ball around everyone, and I'd all be falling over and that. Like, it was mad.
Sounds mad.
It weren't normal, yeah? And he's like, my son wants Pokemon, yeah? Go get him some. And I'd come back with like 2 like brand packs of Pokemon and that, new ones. It was like Artful Dodger stuff, like and like Fagin, and he was like Bill Sykes. He was not like a normal geezer.
Yeah, like Sonny, internally, if you're going to school saying everything's all right, like I've got Sponsor C at the moment, and he's not being as truthful as he could be, I suppose, about his life and how he's feeling, and like, you all right, mate? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And like, it must have been hard just keeping that lie up, I suppose, that different.
So it was strange, like the sports day thing. So he come sports day, he was training for sports day, and then he just started, he couldn't make it, and he let me down, you know, and I'd wait for him. One time I'd hear police cars, and I knew he was getting arrested, and then I'd just tell my friends, like, you know, how was your weekend? It was just normal. Yeah. And and also not only that, is I knew that if I told the school, or if I told anyone what was going on, that I would probably not see my old man.
No.
And me and him still had like best friend connection, because he'd talk to me like I was an adult. Like at that age, it wasn't like we never really hid anything.
No,
it was just like And that's, people say you're grown up, but I've lived like an adult since day dot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never ever.
You had no choice.
Yeah, I had no choice, right? So but that means that I grew up quick. That means my childhood was just a bit warped.
Yeah.
So I was just always like, you know, and I got into crime really young. It was the same sort of thing. I was into it. I thought that was what it was all about. I thought that was part of being an adult. I thought taking drugs thing, the stealing, the all of that, the whole thing. But with that, I was still on my entrepreneurial stuff as well. So my nan would let me set a store up outside the house, and I'd sell stuff outside the house from when I was really young. Like, my nan was like the normal one, throughout it all. Like, my mum and dad were like chaotic, but my nan was holding it down.
It's common.
Yeah, she'd take me to auctions, and she come from Hertfordshire. Her dad was like so my great granddad was like a paratrooper. He owned property. He was like he owned dry cleaners and stuff. He was like prim and proper. He'd jumped out of like 200 planes and that.
Wow.
He had badges everywhere. He was like the man. Like, and he was a proper legend. My nan would cook three meals a day, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For her second husband, as my granddad was also an alcoholic, who just sat there all day, drink, but she'd just be the best. She'd be the best. I could go there any time. I could go there even now to this day. She's in her 70s or whatever. I could turn up at my nan's house, boom. Nan, I'm hungry. What do you want? And a scrambled egg and beans. 5 minutes, quick, boom. Cheers, Nan. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah. It's just like that.
Love it.
Yeah. One time, my dad got his ear bitten off. She stitched it back together. Like, she's that sort of old school.
Old school.
Yeah, old school, mate.
Nice.
Old school woman, like, proper. So she was always the normality, holding it down. And she bought a place in like a little country when her dad passed away. She bought a place in France.
Lovely.
And we'd go out to France in summer holidays, you know, and she had a bit of dough, and so she'd kick me out and everything looked normal, but she didn't have a driving license. And my granddad was an alcoholic. My dad didn't have a license, but she bought this Land Rover from auction, and my dad would drive out there, but he'd be drinking. So we'd drive out to France, like, and he'd be drinking the whole way, you know what I mean? I'd be in the back of this Land Rover, like, and we'd get to France, but I'd go to school. Dad say, what did you do at the 6 weeks holidays? I'd be like, well, I've been in France. Do you know what I mean? And I'd be like, you're lucky. I'd be like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? So
It's a good job we didn't get pulled over.
yeah, it was all like, it was all proper, you know, it wasn't all.
It's bending the truth slightly there.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course, it's like you wearing a mask because you don't want people to see.
Exactly, but it wasn't all rubbish either.
Nah.
Like, there was loads of
course.
mad, beautiful highlights.
Yeah, and look, this is a common theme we're talking about. It's not all good. It's not all bad.
It's not all good.
But it weren't normal.
But it
Whatever
weren't
normal is.
No. It
Whatever
weren't.
normal is.
It wasn't normal.
No.
And there's some horrific bits that stand out. And do you know what? Some of the best bits you often forget about.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
the deepest thing.
Yeah.
Like, I remember.
Yeah, that's human nature.
Yeah, I remember walking about him, like, you know, gouching out down a London road, like, everyone looking at me like, is that your old man? But I don't remember, like, you know, walking into the pub when he ain't smashed it, and everyone going, oh, mate, you're out, you like, and everyone go, cool, yours, mine, so yeah, he's a pan, he's this, he's that. All the highlights of it, getting like all the perks,
Yeah.
you know, getting looked after, being allowed to walk around, and everyone going, yeah, he's all right, boom. Being in places, you know, good things, cool things, and little hookups. You know, we'd go into places sometimes and we wouldn't have to buy anything, like, it'd just be like, we'd go into pubs and that, and we'd just get looked after all evening and stuff, because this has happened and that's happened, and mad little things, or 10 years ago this happened, and like, it was like, it was crazy, man. So anyway, yeah, that was primary school kind of thing, and then I started drinking alcohol then. So when I'd go to the shops, my dad would buy me like Alka-Pops at the weekend. So that was like the first time I was using like on what they call like WKDs.
Yeah, Smirnoff Ice and that.
Yeah. So when I was like, no,
Old school. Are they still about?
I used to love them.
So like 8, 9, 10, I was on them kind of thing. And
Wow.
it was like, well, kids in France, they drink wine at their meals when they're 8. So that's what like my.
Yeah. Italian kids get wine.
Yeah, so it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, this is like whatever.
Justifying
you know?
it.
It's 2003 and 4, whatever it was, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, so that was that. That was, and it kind of warmed me up, but I wouldn't say I was getting proper drunk, you know? And at the same time, like, this was still smoking ban hadn't come in, would go to pubs, there'd be cloudfuls of smoke.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like different. I remember the World Cup, that I think it was one of the last World Cups or Euros, where it's like, I walked into the Plough pub and it was just like, I walked in and it was just like thick cloud of smoke.
Yeah, you see everywhere.
And we were under there and I'm sitting right at the front of the TV, like, and everyone's just going for it. And those are the days, right? That's like, those are the days. So, and then, yeah, what happened was got into secondary school, started, and I started boxing.
Any good?
I was all right, boxed at Southend for a bit, and I was fit as a fiddle, which was good. And I also was doing like drama as well, because my nan put me into like drama classes, like through like, so probably like 10, 11, 12, and then I started doing boxing at the same time. And I even had a few auditions. This is what I mean. My nan got me, because at one point I went to Sandra Singer Stage School in Lee when my nan first got the inheritance. But then it just become too much money because it was like ridiculous money. It was like 200 quid a term or something.
Right.
But she put me into a pop noodle advert. And this is when I was like 9 or 10. So I'm going into like these really middle class environments. Going like, you know, even coming from that background.
Yeah.
So
Must be hard.
yeah. And then I'm going back to like the Curzels and the Bournemouth Greens and the Clooney Squares and that, and thinking about all like my council estate mates. And then in the weekend I'd go to my nan's and my nan would be like cooking like Marks and Spencer's meals and that, and I'd be going to stage school or whatever. Like, not for ages, but it was like a double
culture
black.
clash.
Yeah, even though I was going there, and then I'd come home from stage school, and then my granddad would be off his nut, and my dad would be like coming in like after getting on like white and that and dark and that, coming back with his girlfriend.
So lots of
It's a fuck. It's a head fuck, mate.
So it was just like, it was mad, man.
They're going to school saying, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, just so much.
That's just fine. Yeah, not a lot happened. Yeah.
So much culture.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much culture and so much rawness and truth, and like loads of different, like, it's like an artist just throwing paint on, like very wide palette of stuff. It wasn't normal, and that's how it was meant to be. Yeah. So now I understand that is how it was meant to be, and I'm grateful for my upbringing.
I'll say the same.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for it. Right. Anyway, so then school. Year 7 was all right. Year 7 was fine, sort of. You know, I started to feel, this is when I started to feel like I didn't have a lot of money. This time, like my dad didn't have, well, he actually got an inheritance around year 7 because his nan died, and his nan was from Oxford or something. She had loads of dough, and at that time, that's when his using went mad.
Yeah.
Right.
And he spent like 60, 70.
Yeah, it's not good when an addict gets hold of a big lump of money.
We had a flat on Salisbury Avenue, and that was the first time he was like away. Like that was the first flat that he had, and he got me a bedroom. And I went round there one time. I went upstairs, and there's 15 geezers in the front room smoking crack and doing whatever they're doing. Yeah, and I was in year 7, so I was like 12, and I had a bedroom at that house. And one time I went in there. There's some stuff. I went into his bedroom, and he's with some bird, and there's just like sharps everywhere all over the floor and that, and I'm just like, what is this going on? And I know he's got all this money, and he's hanging around with like this big Jamaican drug dealer geezer.
Are you starting to get a little bit of an understanding about what things are?
I understand. Now I'm 12, now I'm 12, I'm in year 7, I know about stuff. There's like films like, I don't know if Kid Adulthood was out yet, but there's like Grimes about, and like I'm starting to know stuff, and I'm starting to work things out and pattern it up. And
well, secondary school, you get a bit aware.
When I was 10, I went into school and I told my teacher, Miss Kaufman, who's dead now, God rest her soul, at Prince Avenue, I said, yeah, my dad takes methadone. I told her in front of the whole class. And she goes, methadone? She goes, that's for heroin addicts. and I was like,
you sure it's methadone?
I was like, what? Yeah, so it was like,
yeah,
mad. Because my old man would still come and watch me play football and that. And I'd tell people, they'd say, why is his teeth all like that? And I'd say, oh, because he got hit round the head of a baseball bat.
Yeah. You didn't know.
Yeah, I said he got his, or if I did know, I didn't tell it. And all my mates thought he was just like some mad gangster who got his teeth knocked out of a baseball bat one time.
Yeah,
because he had a big scar on his face and that.
So you hit in secondary school and you're actually piecing the puzzle together.
Yeah, now I'm piecing the puzzle together, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is not good. And then I didn't know what to do, and then I'm like, right, and then I'm trying to work out a solution, because don't forget I'm super intelligent, right? Well, I was for a kid, so like I'm still top set for everything. I'm like playing chess, smashing people out of the park. I'm like, what's the solution to get my dad out of this mess, right? I think he went to prison, in and out of prison, like you know. Then basically my granddad died when he was 49, like my nan's second husband, who I called my granddad because I never met my real one, yeah. And around that same time, I started smoking weed.
Yep.
And
How was that?
well, I was hanging around in Cluny Square and I started rapping before I started smoking. And basically, I remember hanging around with this group like a year above me and 2 years above me. And there was loads of us in Cluny, and we was already kind of doing kind of the gang thing, but not really. And then when I started smoking, I was like, suddenly I started looking at all these older boys that I'd kind of respected, and I just started looking at them like, I could beat all of you up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we chilled a lot of people out, but for me, when I started smoking, I just thought, all you like idiots. Like,
Right.
and I just started feeling like hard. That sounds weird. I just felt like a nutter. I just felt right. And everyone was like, "Sonny, you all right?" Like, I remember them all looking at me, and I just started looking at them like, "Bruv, like you lot have kind of been taking the liberties a little bit,
Right.
you know." And then I just started going on.
This has changed you straight
It
away.
just changed me almost straight away.
Yeah.
I just thought, nah, like I've been watching you
Yeah,
boys.
changed me.
I've been watching you boys blaze and all that for a bit now, thinking that you're super cool, like, and I've just been playing football around Jar and just doing
Yeah, like the older
still going
boys.
to my boxing and that, and I can fight, and I'm a better sportsman, but I'm still a bit like, I don't know, I just didn't cross that barrier, you know. And then I started blazing, and then basically just before I started smoking, and I picked up a quarter or something, and I started like shotting basically.
Yeah.
Allegedly, yeah. So that's what was going on.
Yeah. I was one of them.
Yeah. And before that, allegedly, I'd take bits off my mum and I'd go into school and do whatever I was doing with that. So, and funny enough, around that same time, my dad would like almost help me allegedly. And then and it was all mad. So, and then I got wrapped up into that whole thing, and the crime come with it. So the stealing, the robbing the bikes, and the, you know, the more serious stuff like the street robberies, allegedly, all this other stuff. And I got arrested for quite a few things. You know, I got arrested for like arson. I got arrested for loads of mad things. And now I'm starting to rack up like charges and that.
Are you liking this reputation you're getting though?
Was doing beer runs every night.
Yeah.
And I got arrested for that. I robbed 24 beers out of Freshers on South Church Road. 24 beers, a whole crate. I think I was like 13 or whatever. Ran straight down to South Church, right to the corner park, which is funny enough not too far from where I live now. And I started sharing them out with all my mates. And these were all kids that I thought were like cool, do you know what I mean? Like the cool kids in school and the other schools around the area. Yeah. And I gave everyone a beer. The police turned up. I was the only one that ran. And they started arresting everyone. And I got a phone call saying, "Sonny, they're going to nick all of us if you don't come back." And I come back. They arrested me and I got arrested for that.
Right.
And that was like one, you know, robbing 24 beers. But I was people pleasing, yeah.
Yeah, of course, man.
I was using alcohol to try and fit in.
Yeah.
Like, I give you all beers, then you all love me.
Yeah.
I'll show you what a gangster I am, or what a cool guy I am, or I'll show you how crazy I am.
Trying to crave that acceptance.
And at the same time, I still didn't tell any of these people that my old man was doing them hard drugs and I come from this horrible background. I was still trying to show people that I was normal.
Yeah.
So it's all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, boom. And I was blazing. And around that same time, this was year 9 now, we was bang on the MCAT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dangerous, that one.
I got stuck into that.
Cheap, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I was
horrific.
I was 13.
Yeah.
You know,
I lost a couple of summers on that stuff.
Yeah.
That was just like the minutes. Like,
that went mad for a little while.
Like,
it would have been the same time. It would have been the same time because it was still legal.
Yeah.
It was still legal around this time. South Church Park, there was getting 100 kids turn up. Mate, we was doing all sorts of it, smoking it and
dirty,
and
stinky,
whatever.
horrible, tasted and rank.
And around the same time, there's some other people in recovery that we know now that are just kind of, some of them know about, some have been in a bit, that I used getting on them, they're a bit older than me, and I was going houses, getting on it with them around there and doing this, doing that. And I was still just wrapped up into it. And now this time I'm heavier into the whatever else I was doing.
Yeah.
And now it's getting like more organised and a bit more serious. And but along this whole period of time, I'm also rapping and making music.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm getting a reputation for that as well. So, and I'd go to places like in Rayleigh, I'd go out in Rayleigh And everyone in my year that went to like Fitzwymark, Swain, all these schools, they knew who I was because of YouTube. It was like early YouTube, it's like 2010, yeah? So when, look, 14 years ago now. But they'd all know, which sounds mad, isn't it, saying that, but they all knew me. And I'd get a lot of these, like, who I thought, now I just think they're normal people, but back then I thought that was like posh girls and that.
Yeah.
That was all, and all the lads and that, they all love me, man.
Yeah.
They was rapping my lyrics back to me. And I was like, they all wanted me to
buzz.
come to the house parties and stuff. And I'd go to places like Hadley and I'd rap the stuff I'd done on YouTube and on MySpace or whatever. And I'd all rap all the lyrics back at me. And then I was getting a rush off that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that
it's a
was
big buzz.
crazy, yeah? So then I'm like, whoa. And then I got self-worth.
Yeah.
Then I didn't have to prove myself as much. Yeah. So that was good. But a lot of my identity and a lot of my lyrics was around my using.
Right.
Yeah. And things like that and what I'd get up to. So, and then I'd get into, not only that, there was the good side, and then there was the other side of it where people wanted to like try and like target me for that as well.
Really?
So I had people turn up, like gangs of kids turn up at outside houses and stuff and try and attack me and that. And I'd be waiting there like all different creeds, colours, waiting outside of houses for me in Westcliff and stuff, like turning up and I was by myself and things like that, and I'd do whatever, go out there and confront them and that. And because basically at one point I was just like, you lot don't even understand. Like, you know, you actually don't get it. Like
a superpower.
Yeah. Like you think you're it, and then yeah. So but that just, yeah, it was just deep, man. But eventually, I started getting more chilled out because I got kicked out of school in year 9, and then things started calming down around more like year 11.
Right. Okay.
And I started being a bit more sensible, and then I went back to school like for like the last 3 months, and ended up trying my best and that. But the police was coming in and arresting me in school though, so that was long, and everyone was grassing me up for different things, saying I was doing this and doing that because my house was opposite. So yeah, that was deep. But they never actually fully kicked me out of school. And at one point we managed to get a good little balance going on, and a couple of teachers liked me, and I think they started to understand, and still everything's a secret. And then past some GCSEs, they let me do my A-levels, A-level law, A-level business, A-level business, A-level law, sociology and English. But around the same time, some of the older lot who I was hanging around with, told me like about the Illuminati and all that, yeah, and I was like bare blazing and just like on a mad paro one. But I started writing lyrics about it. Someone in Hackney started listening to the lyrics, and they owned a nightclub, and they really liked it because it started being a bit more political, and the lyrics instead of being like South End town is the manner of the fog, boy racers with the bass and the sob, youths on the road and they're shooting on bards, slags in the pubs and the clubs, don't like a 6 and bruv, see their sweats and we don't. Instead of that, it was more like different. It was more like
introspective.
Yeah, it was more like introspective. So it'd be like something like the likes of Rihanna might even just misguide the kids. Look at S&M. Now girls sing about sex from the age of 10. Their sisters are like 6 and sing along with them. Like, so I started rapping about lyrics targeting like Rihanna and these artists. And I started rapping like, and then I started blaming like the Illuminati for my dad's drug addiction.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit psychotic.
Yeah, it was because I was on one and I'd been doing all these drugs at a young age. Right. But I was 16, and then Occupy happened in 2011, and I got my first booking September the 11th, 2011. I got paid 200-300 quid to perform in Hackney.
Amazing.
So I went to Hackney and I'd done this gig, and then when I was in Hackney, it was like everything I'd heard about Hackney was like, it's a ghetto, you're gonna get robbed, you're gonna get shot. Like this is. And then I got there, and it was already a little bit gentrified where I was in that venue. And there was money, and there was Italians, and there was tourists, and there was like, there was culture.
Very.
And because the owner of the club, I was with them lot, and then everyone else that was booked was like these big reggae artists and yardies, and they kind of took me under their wing straight away, and they all love me, bro. Like, and it was like, and I just fitted in, and I was like 16, I come rum, smoking, like shooting, whatever, doing what I was doing. It was cheaper what we was getting around here was so when I'd bring it to Hackney or whatever, they thought, what, where's this kid getting all this stuff from? And they didn't see me as like a boy from Southend. They just thought I was some little youth from East London, like some little guy, like original Cockney guy running around, like, and realistically now look at it, so we're 45 minutes down the road, it's not that much different, whatever. So they took me under their wing and I was like, this is like a whole new world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Occupy happened 2011 and I actually thought the world was going to end in 2012, whatever.
Yeah. One of them guys.
And I ended up going and sleeping in a tent at Occupy. The Echo put it in a paper that I went because by this time I was already getting established, and I'd done this other song before that called Timmy Shine, which was on the same album of When Words for Our Music Speaks, and I'd done like a tour of the schools that was about domestic violence because I was talking about social issues at this time.
Yeah.
And I went to Belfairs and these schools performing that song,
Nice.
and that was in a paper as well when I was 16. So, and then I went to Occupy. That was in the paper. I think that's the second time I was in the paper for my music. And then, and there was that was the album, and that same album was the same album that like Pete Doherty picked up and listened to, and then he started putting me on his shows.
Yeah,
And then I started going, so if you go Sonny Green, Brixton Jam, whatever, you'll see me performing with Pete Doherty on stage. And then after that, I was on stage with him. First time, the first ever gig I done with Pete, he gave me £1,000 to buy a van, like mad. It just cash, like, whoa, don't forget where I've come from, yeah?
Yeah. Have a
What?
grand.
Yeah.
Mad. Not only that I'm talking a lot, but it is what it is. Around different venues, I wouldn't say what venue, but different venues, yeah, not necessarily one I mentioned,
Yeah.
but other venues, I'd go upstairs in the green room
Yeah.
and
Fill your boots.
nah, man, but like, that was the first time I see like rich, posh West London girls, like posh. When I say posh, I'm like much posher than Rayleigh and Leon C, mate. I'm talking like,
Actually
I'm talking like actually posh
Yeah.
now. And they're smoking heroin
Really?
and they're smoking crack and
Wow.
they're doing this and they're doing that. And suddenly my opinion of my dad and his mates and everyone is changing because now I'm going, what?
Yeah, this don't make sense.
It ain't just them lot.
No.
There's like millionaires and rock stars and what? What's going on? So now my mind's just like, they're not all street junkies. Like, yeah, I've seen them drugs being used in different environments, but now I'm seeing them being used here as well.
Yeah.
What? And it actually helped me. It actually made me feel that it wasn't as dark and as bad as I once thought, you know, even though it's still pretty bad, but I see it being used more recreationally and a bit more like in a different environment. And it has the same means, right? And
Of course it does.
And then, and you know, if you ever get Pete on this podcast, hopefully you do one day because he's getting clean, he'll tell you that one day we sat outside the Langham Hotel and I sat with him and I poured my heart out to him. It's just me and him. People were spitting at him like in the street when we was walking around. Other people was wanting autographs and that. And we sat in the gut and I said to him like, Pete, man, come on, you can stop this. You're better than this, you know? And I was crying and he was crying. And even though I was using, I was still trying to get him off heroin because a lot of my life's mission is to get my dad off heroin. So I missed a bit of the story when I was going through my like doing things on the street and that, I'd go and like weigh bits up at my dad's house allegedly. And it's all very dramatic. It's for the movie, the film script we're writing. Yeah. Benny the old Bill watching.
Yeah.
But allegedly, yeah. So I'd be doing bits and after just sorting things out, there'd be like all the dust and that of
residue.
like residue, weed and that, and I'd give it to my old man. And eventually he just wanted to blaze. So he'd get paid. Because at one point in the Echo, he was called a Gyro Day Junkie because he got caught shotting. He got caught shotting a light and dark to a police officer when I was in year 6. So I forgot that bit as well. And that was that come out at the same time when I said about the methadone thing. So he went prison for that, for shotting undercover old Bill. And that was like a nightmare. And anyway, so I kind of got him back addicted to weed.
Right.
And then he started blazing. And then he'd want like quarters of bud when he got paid. And then he'd get like 16 cans of Skull Super or whatever, you know, in 8 cans. And then he'd just be bare drunk, blazing. And then every now and then.
But what in your mind, it was better than being on heroin?
Oh, much better, yeah. And it was because he wasn't running around Westcliff and that, like in crack dens.
Yeah.
And like, he wouldn't have like as harsh come downs and stuff, even though when he drunk it was a nightmare, obviously. So but anyway, so that was all that. So I was trying to get him hooked to weed anyway. So yeah, so that happened, and then we're doing the gigs now with Pete and everyone, and you know, I'm just in a different world now.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm running around Camden, I'm running around Brixton, and Southend's like a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Feeling part of, and I bet that a different
feeling
mask has
part
now
of.
gone on, right? And
But
you could be that.
feeling part of, and then obviously, you know, I've got all sorts of things going on. And I'm doing lots of gigs now, doing lots of shows. I'm doing more spoken word and poetry.
Yeah, nice.
A few things have started to pop off. In 2012, I've done a lot of festivals and the whole festival scene. And it was all very good, you know what I mean? And I was selling a lot of CDs. I was still using every day. From 13 to 23, I used every single day, no matter what. That was just standard, yeah. Whatever it was, I was using every day. 100% weed, and then everything else was extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? The weed was just like wake up spliff, yeah. Everything else was whatever else. And then, and I tried you know, whatever. We went for it anyway. So that was that, and then I landed my first film when I was 17. So I'd done a feature film when I was 17 called Still, which is a very good film. 17, 18, and then I started getting into the acting. And then I got a good acting agent. So then I'm doing a good acting agent. Pete Dockett's manager, Andy Boyd, ended up managing me. So now he's my manager. And I've got an acting agent called Camilla Story, and Tamer Hassan owned half of that agency.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing loads of films, and, you know, I've done a few Our Robot Overlords, loads of short films, loads of like all different things. Like you can see it on my show or whatever. So doing all that, but still using. And then I'm missing like, every now and then I turn up late for auditions.
Yeah.
And my manager would be like,
unmanageability.
Yeah, my manager would be like, you need to stop blazing. You don't realise how lucky you are. You need to stop doing this. You need to stop doing that. But because he used every day as well, I was like, shut up, mate. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I can do what I want. But then the signs started showing up. Although they started showing up before, evidently, but then they really started showing up when I'm going up against like squeaky clean actors who'd been in act drama school, that really worked hard for this, and then I'm doing like self tapes, like
Trying to wing it.
just winging it, bro. But landing bits as well, though, winging it, but because the way I am, still lighting it up, yeah. And it went for a stage where around those times as well, it's like 2014, 15, 16. It was around these times, 2013, 14, 15, like that whole thing of like Top Boy, and like, they wanted the real stuff. Like they started, that was becoming easier.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're what they want, it don't matter. You'll get the part because you fit the bill.
So I got stereotyped. I was like a working class white kid. Boom. We want a little hood kid. Sonny. Boom. Because I looked really young at the time. I was really thin. I was like 9.5 stone. I was like, I'm 13 now. So I looked a lot different. So I was landing parts. But then guess what? I was going to some of these like, there was a £50 million budget film. I won't say what actors were on the set, but there were some big actors on the set. Got to the set. One of the actors, it was, I don't know how much I can say, but basically ended up, one of the big actors wanted me to score for him.
Right.
Because I managed to get something, and then he asked me for something. And it ended up being like a big thing.
Issue.
And then I'm like, right, like, these big actors are wanting me to get on set. Like, even at this level, this thing is still following me. And at the time, I didn't see it. I'm still thinking this is normal because
it's everywhere.
That's why when I went into the rooms, I'm like, what? Like, are you for real? Yeah. Because I've been here, there, and everywhere, and even these lot of. So it's all mad. Anyway, so that was going on, and just more madness, but fun as well. Like, you know, but on the flip side of that, like on social media, everyone's thinking that. And there's normal people that just think that I'm just rosy, amazingly successful. And I'm up and down, going crazy, up and down. Like I'd come off sets, and then I've missed a bit of the touring as well. So I was started touring with ADF, Asian Dub Foundation, played 50 European shows with them, and the first ever show I'd done was in Sardinia, an amazing country. But I completely blacked out on stage. I just completely blacked out. I don't even remember it. That was the first show I ever done, but that, you know. We was drinking moonshine, espressos, bottles of Jack Daniels, like bare weed, like and I just completely blacked out. I took all my clothes off on stage. I think I left my boxers on and all that, but I hope so. Like I did get, you know, and it was mad. Yeah. And then the next time I performed in Sassari or somewhere else in Sardinia, the next place, I had people come up to me, like 6 people, like a group of Italians, and they'd come up to me, and the lead MC activator, and he'll tell you this. Like, they come up to me and was like, Sonny, Sonny. And I looked at them and I did not know who they were.
Yeah.
And actor goes, you've always got to pretend you know who they are even when you don't know who they are.
Right.
Because you've just let them know you didn't know who they were. Because I looked at them like, who are you, bruv?
Yeah.
And it like broke their hearts.
Yeah.
And he was like, no matter what, whatever fans, if any fans ever pretend to know you, just go along with it. That's what he said to me. So I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that whole moment. It was like, deep, because I felt it. And yeah, so
it sounds like things are going well.
Yeah.
Or like from the outside, things are going well.
Yeah, I mean,
but that bit of unmanageability and that, like, it sounds to me like you're living the life of a using addict. Yeah. And it's always going to be, like you said, up and down, up and down.
Of a using addict who's in that world. And I tell you what, a lot of the people you see on TV, film, music, rock stars, you know, Red and Leeds, whatever, they're living a similar life. So, and to be honest, there's loads of fun, but there's chaos.
Of course there is.
And real life it's not really happening. So like things like credit score and normality, it's not really happening. About. And then every now and then, like, you might pick up like a little case or something, like, or your unpaid parking ticket, or like CCJs, or just life, real life. Yeah. And especially family life. I mean, I didn't have a family then. I've got 18, 19, 20, whatever, 21.
Yeah, doing your own thing.
Yeah, doing my own thing. So luckily at that time, you know, I didn't have responsibilities. So thankfully, I can kind of justify it to a certain degree.
You were a kid.
I was a kid having fun, yeah. So and I was living my life, but at the same time, you know, I was still, the potential I had in terms of, I could have probably got a law degree. I probably could have got a degree in sociology. Like, I literally passed my GCSEs on about 2 months schooling from year 9 to year 11. Like, I had something, you know, and they wanted to take me on. Like, I could have went down a different route, but I went down this route, which was more like the arts and the alternative scene. So
when did the using become too much? Let's fast forward into.
Well, I was picking up, you know, we talk about jails, institutions and death. I was picking up loads of mad little crime sentences from the get-go, really, from like 13, 14, 15. So I was always doing, even when I went to Occupy, I had a warrant for my arrest for a whole year. Right. When I was 18, 19. Yeah, I had a whole warrant. I just avoided the police and that. Like, so, you know, you could have said that it was only when I got that manager, he paid for a banging barrister to take me to Hammersmith Court, and I had a knife charge and a possession of cannabis charge, and I had about half ounce of weed on me, and I managed to get off the case. I like paid. I got a £10 fine for the possession, and I got not guilty on the bladed article. It was just like, because I had a really good barrister, but I mean, it was unmanageable and it was not good. No, from a lot of that time, there was loads, and mate, the stuff, I used to get so drunk and so out my head, and I'd be walking up and down Kingsland Road in Hackney just on a mad one by myself, like young. And like, although I said it is gentrified, it's still pretty ghetto.
Yeah, of course. That's where my mum's from, just off the Kingsland Road.
There's still big gangs of youths, So I lived on Shacklewell Lane for a bit and then went into Bethnal Green or whatever, but I was still rolling round. And when I have a drink, I think I'm the king of anywhere I am. Like, no matter what it is, where it is, I don't care who you are. But because of that bravado, it probably saved me as well, because people would look at me and think, that guy, the way he's rolling, he must be someone. Or he must have something behind him. Because he's
like carrying on like that.
Yeah, he's a skinny white youth and he thinks he's the man. So I don't know who he knows, I don't know who he is, but he must be someone.
Leave him alone.
Yeah, leave him alone. So I got left alone, but that was because of the bravado, But realistically, I put myself in some very dangerous situations, and by God's grace, I'm here. Right, so fast forward now. Glasgow, got a TV show. I was on TV for a year, and I was using, and I was picking up. I got arrested like 2 or 3 times on set. I got strip searched in the police cells because I was like getting on it and that, and I was blazing, doing whatever I was doing, and the Scottish police just threw me down hard, bruv. They like completely threw me down. I ran away from them. They took me to the cell, strip searched me. Bearing in mind, I'm on BBC One on TV at this point. In Glasgow.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. And I'm getting strip searched. In the second
parallel life. There's loads of parallel lives.
Lives all the way through, Geese. All the way through, mate. It's proper mad. Yeah. and then I got strip searched on the Sunday, and I'm on set on the Monday, and I've gone into the BBC and I ain't even told them. This might be the first time they heard about it. Yeah, because I didn't even tell the producer. And then I'm going in there, and while I'm on set, I'm like coming down, coming up, and I'm just like sitting there going, I hate this. And I'm on set going, I hate this. I don't know why I'm here. And I'm like 20, getting $1,000 a week, like on a TV set, coming out, everyone knowing me and like living a great life. I could have just been normal. I could have held it down. I could have just done my career, like, and just been a TV actor, and just, you can buy houses cheap in Scotland. Like, I could have just had a whole thing going there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's one of them ones where you could have easily gone down
coulda,
any of
woulda,
them
shoulda.
paths.
But when you talk about unmanageability and whatever, like, it's happening now. At this time, my dad's still alive. Anyway, I sacked off the TV show. I thought I was going to be, like, you know, I started doing my international shows around the same time. And then I said, you know what? I'm too big for this. And then I went back to, I stopped. I told them, I said, like, I don't want to do this no more. Write me out the script. Okay, so they ripped me out. I ended up getting fostered in somewhere in like Inverness or something, and then I went back to the UK, like to England, and I come back home, and just come back doing my. This was around 2016, doing my music. I still had a record deal, I had a publishing deal, so I got a publishing deal with Bucks. It was quite a big publishing deal. It was all right. Spent a lot of the money on using. Yeah.
Standard.
I was buying big bits and then thinking that I was going to shot a lot of it. And
So it's progressing nicely.
yes, that's progressing nicely. Yeah. And
starting to take over, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, if it's not taking over, because now I'm like, right, I'm a full-time artist. I've got this big publishing deal.
And you think it ain't going to end?
I can just, it's not going to end.
Yeah.
It's not going to end, right? I'm blowing up. Yeah. So it's all ticking off. I'm going to my bank. There's like figures and that. I'm like, yeah. And you know, coming from where I come from, it was a lot of money, even though it weren't really, you know? Yeah. And then around that same time, I met who is now my wife.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
So, and this is like 2016, right? And we met at like a grime event in what was the Old Hat. So that was all cool, but you know, we're still young, and yeah, and we'd be going up to studio. His studio was always in Brixton or Finsbury Park, and I'd be like using on the way there, driving on the way back, still doing that, still risking everything, like just these mad things, allegedly, whatever. Yeah, so, and it was all going on. And my dad started getting ill.
Right.
Around this time. So he passed away in 2017.
Right.
And he was a slow death, bruv. It was like a year. Basically, my dad passed away about a liver.
Right.
So, but from 2012, when I started doing all this, like I've got a hand-signed, one of Pete's hand-signed, Pete Doherty's hand-signed limited edition prints, and he'd written it to my dad and to me, often versed about Dad Martin and that. And it's massive, like they sell for like $3-4 grand at the time, and he'd written it out and done it. Like, but around from 2012, and especially when I was in Glasgow, my dad actually started sorting his life out, not sorting it out, but he'd fully stopped using hard stuff, and it'd just be blazing, and he was trying to manage his drinking, and he was trying to be normal, and he was trying to get it, like never like proper normal, but he was off methadone, he was off the script.
Right.
You know, he was
Step in the right direction.
You know, he was getting close, cutting down his alcohol, really trying. And the better I was doing, and the more like famous I was getting, he was like, he kind of knew that he couldn't, because if he come out and people knew, like, it might actually start affecting my career and stuff, and it might end up in the press, or this might happen, that might happen. It would affect me. Every now and then I'd get phone calls saying, "Sonny, you got to come pick your dad up because he's paralytic on my floor," and I'd go pick him up. One time I was on Hamlet Court Road, he'd slipped over and bashed his head, blood was everywhere, and I had to pick him up. Like every now and then they'd have a blip, but it wasn't like what it used to be like, which is like, you know,
constant.
Yeah, constant. So. But anyway, he actually he kind of moved back into my mum's on a Curzal for a bit, and they was even trying to get their stuff back together, and it was all a bit weird, yeah. And then I went to the doctors. He started getting ill, and basically my dad is a proud man. Yeah, he would never tell anyone that he was getting ill, and he used to lie, man. He used to say that his liver was okay, everything like that, and he his body just started, he was 48 and his body just started shutting down on him because of for 20 years, from 13 till 48, you know, alcohol every day, crack, heroin, methadone, all the other drugs, every whatever, anything. and not just a little bit.
No.
Like
Loads.
we're talking like, you know, 60 grand in 3 months.
Mm.
You know, we're talking like robbing everyone and taking everything and doing it all, just spunking everything, constant.
It's going to take his toll.
Oh, yeah, he's lucky to even get that far, really. But his whole thing was, my dad died at 13. I'm going to get you till you're over 18, and anything after that's a bonus. So his body started shutting down on him, and I'm doing like Reading and Leeds. I'm getting played on Radio 1 at this point. I'm getting playlisted on 1Extra. I'm like, things are actually
happening.
Yeah. And then this parallel life. I'm going back, and my dad's got these big operations coming up, and now they're putting on morphine, and I think he had what did he have? He had a stoma bag fitted in, and they put him on morphine, man. So now they're putting an ex-heroin addict on morphine, bruv. And now my dad's using morphine. I'm coming in, I'm looking at him like, no, this ain't good. Yeah, you don't look good, Dad. And he's still drinking, and now he's getting off his head, and he's got this stoma bag and that, bruv. And now it's getting dark. And now I'm an adult, and I've got this new girlfriend who's now my wife, who again, and now I've got to tell her that everything's normal. And I'm getting back in my car, going, yeah, it's all right. Driving around like,
yeah.
Oh, mate, pain.
I was going to say, pain must be horrific.
I'm like, surely, like, at this point.
No wonder, I say it all the time, like, no wonder we fucking used, right?
I've been through all this now.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? I've been through all this stuff from a little kid, and it's still going on now. And people think I'm famous. They're coming up to me. They want selfies. They want this. They want that. I've done all this stuff, you know, kind of. I think I'm someone. I've got a lot of self-worth as well. Like I've done stuff in the world, you know. I've got a name in not just in Southend, but in the world. In
What age are you here?
Like 21, 22.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm someone. People looking up to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Big, like, you know, I'd established, like, and I'd got this publishing deal, and I'd had some money now. So things are like, it's an actual career now. It's not just, and I'd passed my driving test, and I'd got a license, and I was legit. My mum and dad never had a license. My nan didn't have a license. Remember, I was driving to France, no licenses and that. I've got a license now. So I started driving to France, that property that my nan bought, no one had been to for 10 years, bruv. I drove out there, tried sorting it out. Yeah? Like, things were, you know, we're gonna try to sort this life out. We're gonna do it properly, you know? Dad started shutting down, his body started shutting down. Before you know it, he was in hospital. But it was like slow, man. He was 20 stone, 6'3", big lump. Like, he got in my Toyota Yaris when I first passed, and the car went nearly hit the floor, mate. Like, it was a unit, it was big. And by the end of it, he was like 10 stone or something ridiculous. And he died.
Yeah, it's emaciated. It's tough to watch.
He died without a liver. He didn't, the doctor so what happened was, one time, it was my 22nd or 23rd birthday. He passed away 8th of December 2017. My birthday's on the 2nd of November. I went in to my nan's. He was on the sofa at my nan's. It's pretty much where he lived, yeah, because I was like codependent. Anyway, he filled out my birthday card, and it was like all weird and jittery and that. Like, it looked all just shaky. And I looked at him, and at this point he had a proper liver disease, and he couldn't really, he was like, he looked at me like I weren't there. And I'm like, and it was weird, but it was my birthday. He gave me my birthday card, I turned up, and I'm like, I try not to think too much about what's going on. And I left. I went out with my now wife, and we went out and probably had a meal and done whatever we was doing and enjoyed my birthday, right? I come back a few days later, and my dad is dying, mate. He is like, he didn't recognize me. Like, his liver had completely gone. He was like pretty much dead. And my nan looked at me, and she didn't call me. She didn't say anything. Like, she was probably just, I don't know what was going on. And he was a mess. He had this stoma bag. It was a mess. It was a mess. I started cleaning him up. I called an ambulance. The ambulance come. Started trying to move him. And like, my old man had a great boxing record. He was a really good amateur boxer and everything, and he was an athlete. And as soon as they started touching him, he started flipping out. Like, it was like he went all like and I said, no, like he just called me like a different name in that. This is my dad. We're best friends. He doesn't know what's going on here. Please take him. And I had to beg them with everything I ever had to get him in the back of this ambulance. And I said, I'll get him on. And I said, Dad, come on. I was pleading with him. I spent a lot of my life pleading with my dad to just stop doing whatever he was doing. I pleaded with him a million times to stop taking drugs. I looked in to stop drinking. Like, you know, I'd plead with him. There's so many stories that I haven't even touched on, bro.
No.
Yeah, so many different
powerful stuff,
things,
that's something. Yeah.
And I'm pleading with him. I'm looking in the ambulance's eyes, going, please take my dad. He's not gonna, like, you need to take him. And they just about did. I sat in the back of the ambulance with him. We got down there, A&E, Saturday night, bruv. It was a Saturday night, Southend Hospital. Massive queue. And you know, God rest his soul, but my dad stunk the whole gaff out, bruv. Like, he was in this little bed and I was there. People were clocking me as well, like, oh, Sonny, great, like, you know what I mean? You listen to your chat. I'm just there, my dad, like, and he's not there. He's like this, like just, and it wasn't because of drugs. It was because he didn't have a liver, and his body was just not functioning. Anyway, I left. He was just sat in A&E. By the way, he should have been straight on a ward and straight looked after. Anyway, they took him down, got upstairs, come back the next day. The doctor goes, if you didn't get him in that night, it'd 100% died on your nan's sofa. 100% would have died on your nan's sofa. And at this point, he couldn't speak. So he was on the ward, he couldn't speak. And he was on a ward for about a few days, like 3 or 4 days. And then I started getting words out of him, but I'd come back and he wouldn't speak. And then I'd come back and I'd be like, come on, Dad. Like, and I'd try to get words out of him, And, yeah. And then eventually I started getting conversation out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he would, like, he said, like, I love you and that. And we had a bit of conversation, and he kind of said like a little last bit to like my mum and to his mum, my nan. And I got some voice notes. He said, I love you and that. And then it was late at the hospital. It was about 8 o'clock. And I went to sort out some smoke, and I went and see my mates. Just popped out just to sort something out. I think picked something up and come back to the hospital, and it died. And I just let out this primal scream. Primal. I remember it, Southend Hospital, just let it all out. My nan come. She said her goodbyes and that. He was already dead, like, you know. And that was that, really. And I was just heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because I felt that my mission to like get him back to normality, and I was always just that one tune away, just that one film away from the big time, like the millions and the maybe the expensive rehab, or the like buying us a house or getting us out of Southend, or you know, the getting away or whatever it may be, that little bit away from making it. And although he'd seen me do these big things with, like, you know, Brian May from Queen, I was in studio with, and all these big people that he kind of, you know, big people, but he never really see the financial side of me winning. Which again, it's not the be all and end all, but it might have been nice, even though they'd probably still been asking me for tenors and everything.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's almost like it doesn't really matter if you're an active addiction. It's just more fuel, more fuel on the fire.
Exactly, right. So that happened, and that was in 2017. 2018, Ella and I found out my first son, Levi, was going to be born. And don't forget, I'm still using the stuff, but not as much. And we're in this like kind of like room facing the sea kind of thing by this point. And we had it all going on in that flat. There was like the Albanian mafia downstairs, and they're all trying to put bits on me, and I'm trying to do this and do that, and we're all hustling on that. And there's this little baby crying inside. My girlfriend who I've been with like a year's like belly. My dad's just died. I'd been having all this stuff going on, and I'm like, what is going on?
Too much.
Too much. I'm crying myself to sleep every night. We've got, a baby on the way, and
Time for change, yeah?
time for change.
Yeah, man.
So I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I was going to the gym in River City and all that. So I was training and going to the gym. And so I'm going to the gym and I'm coming back and I'm going, right, I'm not going to use today. And I'm not going to smoke, but I'm going to, and then I'll be in the last post, like necking off rums and that.
Yeah,
and I'll be
bit of
coming back bare drunk, like, you know what I mean? Like, well, I didn't blaze. It's like, yeah, but you...
Mate, I've done them all.
do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I ain't doing that, but yeah, I am doing that.
Yeah. So...
Coming in bed.
Yeah. And then...
You're going to get
and then I'm getting like, do you remember what you done last night? I'm like, yeah, kind of. But my dad's just dead and I got all the excuses, right?
Of course.
So...
Victim mode.
And then I got a phone call and it was that phone call. It was, I'm going to a meeting.
From your pal, yeah?
From my pal.
Oh, nice.
Big him up.
So that's when I saw you.
Big up my ginger mate, so I know who he is. And he took me to a meeting, man. And I got to the meeting.
That explains the reaction now.
Yeah, there you go.
Sonny talking for an hour has explained the reaction that I saw.
And then I shared, and then same guy who used to, because we used to have loads of people knock on our door.
Yeah.
At one point, they called my man a doctor because certain people would only come and he'd give them a hit, and they'd be cooking it up in my nan's bathroom, bruv. And some of them people, we were at that meeting.
We're at that meeting, yeah.
One of them, rest in peace. He's passed away. He wouldn't mind me saying his name. That was the one meeting he ever went to. That was the only meeting I ever see him in, by the way. Dave Carr, big him up. He's in one of my music videos as well. Nothing. He's a legend. But he was one of my dad's friends, and he found out that my dad died in that first meeting. So then I've got to a meeting.
Well, that's it coming full circle.
And I'm saying, yeah. And that was it. So I got to the meeting and I straight away in the rooms, I knew that was the solution. And my dad had never got to a meeting. He'd never heard about it. No one ever carried a message. And if they did, I didn't know about it. He never got to a meeting. He never done it. Never picked up any key rings. He never tried the 12 steps. He never ever done it. And I'm like, and I got to the meeting and I'm like, if this could have happened 5 years ago.
There you go. And that's that thing that you were saying that you needed to be the savior. You didn't know what the solution was at that time.
Yeah, I didn't know what the solution was, right?
Yeah.
So now I've got to the meeting and I'm like, no way. And then I'm coming up to some old timers, yeah? Some of the older women and that. And I'm saying, and they're going, who's your dad then? And I'm going, da-da-da-da-da. Like Martin and that. And they're what? I used to use with him. Like a lot of the old, like a lot of the people, some of them got like 10 years clean time, some of them big people we all know. And I'm like, no way. Like my dad knows all these people. He could have got here. Like, and they all know him. So they know my life and what I've come from.
Yeah.
So I'm like, these are like almost, they're like older sisters, aunties, whatever. And I'm looking at them like, yeah, man, like my dad would want me here. Like he knows these people and they're the normal lot. Because all the other people I know who knew my dad were all like quite crazy, really. They're still out there using and that.
Yeah.
But these are the people
For
that are
how
clean.
long?
These are the people that are clean, right? So I'm like, okay, I've got my son come in. Yeah. My missus, like, she's got to stop using for my son. I need to be an inspiration for her to stop. Yeah. So I'm going to stop and this is how we're going to do it. And we're doing it now. And we're both doing it. Yeah. And this is it. I'm stopping. You've got a baby. It's like, you're 100% stopping. This is it. My life's changing. Still had some money from the publishing deal. Bought a van. Yeah. Bought a van. Don't care what people think of me. I'm buying a van, going scrapping. I'm trying to do this legit thing to a certain extent. Right? I need to change my life. Still do auditions, still do that, but I need some normal income, some everyday money, like one every day, not like 3 months, get a week on a film set.
Yeah,
or
like
straight
work.
do like 2 shows a month or whatever. I'll get like whatever it is, not enough to survive, basically. Straight work, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway, doing meetings, man. Now I'm doing meetings like every night, right? Because like I'm early in recovery, and they say do 90 and 90, and also I'm addicted to recovery, right?
Yeah.
So I'm picking up key
It's
rings.
the name of the podcast.
Good
Right.
name, that.
So I'm picking up key rings, and I'm like, I want 30 days. My ginger mate, I'm like, I'm gonna beat you at this recovery stuff because I'm super
it's
competitive.
competition again.
Yeah, I left out all my footballing and all my boxing, cross country, whatever it was. I've all the way through this, all the way through my life, I've been competitive. The rapping, the beer runs, the music, whatever it is, whatever circle of friends I've been in, I've always wanted to be the best. I'm addicted to recovery now. I want to be the best at recovery. So I'm like,
I can relate.
meetings. I'm doing a meeting every night. I want to know them all. I want to do this. I want to do that. I would service. I want to do it. Yeah, I'm up for this stuff. Yeah, I want to stay. I want to
free stuff, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
there you go.
I want to stay clean. Yeah, and so it's happening now.
Fully committing.
So yeah, I'm committing, man, and now I'm getting like
you approached it like an addict.
Yeah, literally, like I'm all in,
which is like it's necessary.
Yeah, and
in my experience,
and I'm learning and I'm growing, and then I'm meeting people like that are business owners and stuff.
Sponsor steps by them.
Not well. No, it took me ages to get a sponsor. I never had the balls. I don't like the beggy thing. I'm like, I was different. I still had massive ego, and there was people in there, and there was a few people I asked, by the way, and they just said no. And there was loads of people who couldn't sponsor me, and there was bare like old timers I just didn't relate to, and there was loads of people and there was so many people in the meetings with not loads of clean time. They just wouldn't sponsor me, right? So it was deep. I didn't ask that many people, and then I did get a sponsor. I shared at a meeting. I got a sponsor, and it was one of the same people who was in the first meeting. It was good, but then when I got him, it was like, I don't know, man. It was taking age. Everything was taking ages, but we got through some step work, and it changed my life.
It's what it's designed to do.
Yeah, we got through some step work, and it started to really change my life. Yeah. You know, and then I started telling my story to him. Like I read out my life story, and I've read and he said that's one of the best life stories I ever heard. Whatever. He said that was so deep, like, and there was loads more in it that we've even spoke about. So there was so much in there, and even like some of the things that I've shared about now was like the first time that's ever heard was when I told him.
Really raw, yeah.
Yeah, it was so raw, and then I'd sit with him as an older man. It was weird. It was almost like sitting with someone that was kind of near my dad's age, but not quite.
Yeah,
I'd be like crying.
figure-ish.
So it's like, you know, it's a bit like all that. It's like counselling, grieving.
Yeah.
It was everything. It was dealing with my childhood trauma, the steps, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you're anyone listening, get involved in the steps. It does all that stuff. It's almost like the best therapy.
Yeah, and it's free.
Do that as well, but you know, the steps, if you do it right,
And
green and gold, like, you know, we're talking like 79 questions, step one. And when I answer a question, it's like when I have a conversation, you ask me one question, brother, right? I'll go on for 10 minutes. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same with the steps, isn't it?
But we always say, Sonny, as well, the little bonus on the end is that you lose the desire to fucking stop using.
You
Do you know what I
lose
mean?
the
It's
desire
like-
to stop using.
Exactly.
So eventually
It's like a side effect.
it's like and also, I mean, life's slowly starting to get better.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get some money around me. I've started I've started to get an organization, like stuff's starting to happen. You know, I'm doing like my trouble tongues thing, and then I'm picking up key rings. I did have a relapse 6 months in. I relapsed, and I ended up I won a trip to Amsterdam, and it just done me. I won a trip to Amsterdam. It was like a grime set, and I picked up out there, but I come back and I spent a few days, and then I just got straight back in.
Nice.
And I started all over again.
Mm.
And then coming.
Done well getting back so quick.
Yeah, well, because I just wanted it, and I went out there with someone who was in NA as well. No, edit that. I went out there with someone who was in the fellowship as well, but actually he weren't even in the same fellowship as me, so I got it wrong anyway. He was in a different fellowship, and he ended up going to a meeting out there. And he went to a meeting, and me and the rest of the crew was with didn't. And I ended up using with them lot. So, and funny enough, my mum was with me. I actually took my mum on that trip, and I was using with her out there in Amsterdam, and it was like a memory thing and whatever. So, yeah, that was that. And I ended up getting my first proper job as a youth worker, and I actually ended up getting employed by the Methodist Church. They gave me a youth work job.
Yeah, nice.
As a youth worker. And one of the questions were like, do you believe in God? And because I'd been doing all this, and by this time I was about a year about a year clean. So that
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
I'm fast forwarding,
Yeah,
missing
it's
out
all good.
chunks. Otherwise we'll be here for like 3 hours. But yeah, so I got like a youth work job, and they gave me the keys to the church, and I'm still going to meetings. And don't forget, my son's been born.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Little
my
Levi.
first son's been born. Big up Levi. And I'm clean. Things are good and I'm clean. And I've got this normal job. And now by this time, I've fully stopped any illegal stuff as well.
Madness.
And
though,
I've got my van, so I'm scrapping, and I've been employed. And I've got we moved out of that room, and we've got a flat with a garden, and I've got a dog, because that's why we had to move out the room. And then we've got a kid, and now it's now I'm pretty much proper on the straight and narrow, and things are good.
And Sonny, internally, you are better as a person, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? All that.
Yeah.
all
Things
that,
I'm dealing
that
with.
pain
stuff.
is still there, but it's manageable.
So
now.
for the first, I remember the first few months of me stopping as well, I was getting like mad anxiety attacks, and I've never ever had anxiety in my life. And then when I completely stopped, I started getting anxiety. You know,
You didn't have any medicine.
No, you get your feelings back, right?
Yeah.
So the worst bit is you get your feelings back, and then I realised I got anxiety. And I started, tight chest. I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital. I'd get in the shower, and I was like, and I was never like that, you know. So all this stuff was going on, and
it's a Methodist church.
yeah. So then the Methodist church was good, and I started playing football for SCF, which is Southern Christian Fellowship, and I was playing football for them, and I was trying to rock up at church, and I was trying to experience like the higher power thing, what that meant for me, and what a higher power is, what God is. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Amen.
So I started going to the church, and then heard in a meeting one time, you want to get off drugs, go and talk to someone who knows about getting off drugs, get a sponsor. You want to learn about God, go talk to someone who knows about God. Whether that be a Buddhist monk, whether that be an imam, or whether it be a yoga teacher, whether it be a preacher, a pastor, whether it be a priest, whatever it is. If you want to learn about higher power, learn about God, go speak to someone, go speak to them all, and see what connects, see what you connect with.
Be quick to see where religious people are at.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're fair enough, pray to a chair your whole life or whatever, but if you really want to connect, then you want something that does it for you. Okay, so then I ended up basically getting this job, and I was surrounded by these nutty Christian people, and I was asking difficult questions, brother.
Yeah, I bet you
and
were.
I was asking all the difficult questions, and you know what? They weren't really judging me.
No.
And I thought I was going to get a lot of judgment and a lot of this and a lot of that, and then suddenly my other behaviour started to change. So I was very sweary. I was very kind of mad and very and then suddenly I'm like, oh, these lot don't swear. And when I do swear, they look at me like, that hurt me a little bit. So I stopped swearing, bruv.
Yeah.
And even this whole podcast, I haven't actually swore.
No.
And if every now and then I say SHIT, every now and then, but I try not to, because I use that as and don't forget, I had big hits that were F off. That was one of my biggest songs. I was kind of famous for swearing at one point. So a lot of my mates know me for that, and people know me for that. Anyway, so that happened, and then I actually decided to just go all out and give my life to Jesus, basically.
Wicked.
And I got baptized on Father's Day on the 19th of June, which is actually my clean date.
Wow.
So I got baptized, I think 2022. It might be 21. I always get the dates confused. I think it's 2 or 3 years.
Was that in the sea?
It was in the sea.
Chalkhall?
It was in the sea down at Chalkhall, yeah. And my mum got baptized the same day as me, my nephew, few people from recovery, John Boy.
I remember, yeah.
So a few people.
It's coming on soon, John.
We all done it, yeah. We all got baptized the same day. Some of us managed to stay clean. Some of us haven't. Some of us come back, and
you feel at home there.
At where?
At church.
So basically, I feel I love God. I got a connection. these difficult questions I was asking them questions like, what? So where's the evidence for Jesus then? And they're like, right, well, there's more evidence for Jesus than there was for the Roman emperor at the time. There's this, there's that, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. And they was showing me firm evidence, yeah? And there's a geezer called Luke Johnson, who's a pastor. He's 20 years older than me, and he went to the same school as me, and he went to prison for doing graffiti. He used to write arms, and he went to Brixton prison for bombing the whole of London, millions of pounds worth of criminal damage. He ended up working at this church. I was his boss at one point during COVID, yeah? And I was asking him these questions, and really difficult questions, and he's just putting it out. I was like, what? So they didn't change the Bible at all and all this. It was like, well, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible goes back to this, goes back to that. It was
Armed
like,
with the facts.
The ancient Greek meaning of this word means that, and there's four different
like
meanings of love. Yeah. And it was like, there's 4 different meanings of that. And every question, I was like, what? Where's the dinosaurs in the Bible? And it was like, well, if you turn to this page, and boom, and everything is like this. Some things would be like, that's not my opinion, by the way. This is what the Bible says. Yeah. And it would go back. And suddenly I realized that everything I thought I knew about so-called Christianity and what I'd heard and picked up was actually none of that was true. And some stuff was like religious stuff that the church had made up, different sectors, yeah, whether it be JW or whatever church may be, Mormons and all these different sectors that had actually nothing to do with certain teachings of Jesus. And then the more I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, even some of them people in church who say they're Christians are going against certain teachings and that. And I was like, nah. And then I started delving into it, still going to meetings, still, still on it. But I'm like, no, you think you know that about Jesus, but actually this is what Jesus said in the scripture. And suddenly I used it because I was playing for the Christian football team, and the church Lovelace Gardens was at the bottom of my road where my son was born, and I'd pop in there and I started getting into these debates with Christians who thought they knew what they was going on about, yeah? Some of them did, by the way. Some of them knew a lot more than me. And then there's others that were overly religious. And it's like, well, actually, that's not what Jesus is about, because he actually fought the religious Sadducees and Pharisees at the time. He actually come and said, you lot have put so many laws. Yeah, the whole point of the of those laws, the Levitical laws, was to prove that you couldn't keep them.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no need, like, that's why we don't have to sacrifice animals no more, right? Because it was the last sacrifice. Those nutty guys was like doing mad sacrifices every time they sinned and that.
Yeah, not just animals.
Yeah. Well, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was pretty much animals. Right? But anyway, whatever. We're just like, biblically it was animals. Yeah, maybe it might have been other stuff. Yeah, but anyway, there was and Jesus was like, you lot are going over the top, right? This is simple. Keep it simple. And the program, and the real Jesus stuff was like lining up.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, keep it simple. Like, he kept it simple.
Yeah.
The commandments, right? They, even in the scripture, it boils down into 2 commandments, and it said the greatest commandments of them all are to love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as you would yourself.
Yeah, nice.
They're the 2 commandments, bruv. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as you would yourself.
Yeah.
Out of self in service.
Now the big question, how do you love God with all your heart? Right? So how do you do that? Boom. That's, like you say, selflessness, not being selfish, making a newcomer a cup of tea, giving someone you don't know a hug. Jesus come, he sat with the sinners, he sat with the prostitutes. Yeah, he sat with the down and outs. He sat with the lowest of the lows, the bottom of the bottoms. He sat with the IV drug user. Yeah, like, obviously he sat with those people that are new first day in a meeting. That's who he sat with, mate. Yeah. That's who he put his arm around. That's who he ate with. Back then, he got persecuted because he had meals with prostitutes and tax collectors and sinners. He sat and ate dinner with them, and the religious people was like, he cannot be the Messiah because he's breaking bread with them. Yeah. So it was like a big, massive thing. Yeah, like back then, even though he was going around healing the blind, doing this, doing that, walking on water, whatever, all the miracles, which are all biblically sound and haven't been disproven. No one can not prove it. That's why there's still millions and billions of people who, follow Jesus, because it can't be disproven. Yeah, there's like eyewitnesses, 500 eyewitnesses see him on the cross, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's like, okay, and then praying, getting power from, like, praying in Jesus' name and stuff, seeing the miracles happen. Bro, I started a removals company, all this stuff. I got a lorry reversing into me up against the car. I'm saving a customer's car, standing in the way. The geezer driving my lorry can't see it, and it's a 7.5 tonner, massive one. I'm standing in a blind spot. He's about to crush a 20 grand car. I'm standing in the way. I'm looking down at my leg. He's reversing. I'm looking at my leg going, God, come on. Don't. This ain't my story. Come on, stand firm. Looking at my leg like that. He's reversing. The customers jumped over the wall, ran up, going, stop. Yeah, I'm like literally watching my leg like,
break.
Yeah. He stopped, slap,
Yeah.
come forward. I'm like that. And I'm like, give it like half hour, an hour. I started moving boxes, bruv. I'm like, no way. I'm giving God all the glory for that one. Yeah, like miracles.
Yeah, man.
That's like one of. There's loads of different little signs and that, and then I'm starting seeing God everywhere, like in certain things and power of prayer.
What a transformation, though, man! Like from your childhood all through to where you are now.
You know,
it's just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that gives me more faith.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that gives me more faith. And you know, there's certain bits of scripture as well. It says, don't call no man father. There's only one father and he's in heaven. Yeah. So there's certain things that have took pressure off what my dad is, what my dad is to me. You know, there's a lot of pressure on fatherhood, yeah, and we put too much pressure on ourselves. Like my sons have never ever seen me use drugs or alcohol. No. They've never seen me high. They've never seen me coming up or coming down. I've got 2 sons. Beautiful. They've never seen me drunk. Yeah, they never see me under the influence of nothing. Yeah,
we done an episode, Sonny, on step 3, and one of the big things was about faith, and it just exactly correlates to what you're saying. Like, I walk down the road now, and because I've got such a good connection with my higher power, I feel held walking down the road. I've got that faith, man, and it's just a beautiful position to be in. Yeah, no matter what, the fellowship's going to have my back. My higher power's going to have my back. Do you know what I mean? And that is just, I just feel so privileged to be in that position, man.
My van got stolen 2 days ago. $6,000 van, paid it out. Boom, got stolen, bottom of my road. And I'm like, right, handing it over, thinking whatever. If it comes back, it comes back. My van does not identify me. My job, my money, my businesses, my music career, it's not my identity, yeah? It's not I who live, but him and me, right? I don't care about that stuff no more, yeah? It is what it is. Anyway, I still went looking for it because I want to find it, yeah? Seek and you shall find, ask and you shall receive, Matthew 7:7, yeah? I went looking for it, right? So as I went looking for it, my mates texted me saying, don't go on your ones, like I'm going on to traveller sites, I'm going down like mad neck of the woods and that. He's like, don't go by yourself. I'm like, I'm never by myself, even when I'm by myself, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, like, don't worry about that, yeah? Like, we're sweet. And I didn't find it, and it is what it is, and that is part of it. But what I would say is, I still, when I go to meetings, like, obviously there's a group that I go to, which I'm sharing at Thursday, which is not, and it's online and wherever, and there's a few of them. There's different other fellowships which are for Christians. When I go into like when I go into other fellowship meetings, like 12-step meetings, I would never start preaching the gospel. No. Yeah, I'd never ever start preaching the gospel. Yeah. I would say God and that and higher power and stuff, but I wouldn't start ramming it down a newcomer's throat or nothing like that. However, I have spoke to people that I've known, and I do meet in the street, that don't know me from the rooms, and I talk to them about Jesus. Yeah. And some of them are now in the rooms and are getting months and months. Yeah. And some of them have got years clean time, and they didn't know about the 12 steps. And I spoke to them about Jesus before I spoke to them about the meetings. Yeah, and there's addicts that I meet in church, active addicts, that I tell about the meetings, and they're coming into churches all drunk and that. My church is mad. My church, I've been in church, people have been drinking alcohol, and none of the other Christians have said anything to them, and they've let them drink beers and that, like upstairs and stuff, and said, no, they're okay. If they're going to hear the gospel, let them. It's okay. Don't judge them. Don't pressure them. Don't say it. And I'm like, let me go and have a chat with them. Yeah, it's beautiful, bruv. Yeah, man. It's real, because they know, they get taught, and the people that read the scripture get taught that Jesus wouldn't go shut someone down for having a beer in a church. You know what I mean?
What a journey, son.
Eventually, of course, if you're like a preacher or a pastor, of course, man, you can't be coming drunk and that, of course, yeah? Like, there's levels, right? But if you're new in and you're fresh in, if you're a newcomer, same way as if you're a newcomer at a meeting, man, yeah, if you're a newcomer, if you're listening to this and you're still using drugs and alcohol, get to a meeting, mate. We don't care. We're not going to turn around and kick you out for being being drunk in a meeting. We don't shoot our wounded, you know.
No.
In fact, like, you know, spice it up a little bit and keep coming. If you read the basic text, you read the blue book, there's people that are like 10, 12, 15 years bang at it, still going to meetings every day. If anything, it just shows us that there ain't nothing good out there, because if you're using and coming to a meeting, then it can't be that great using, right?
No.
So it's like, you know, it's beautiful. And the basic text changed my life as well. The blue book changed my life, man. When reading the blue book from cover to cover, just for today's, doing that stuff every day changed my life. Being a service, all of that stuff. Like I can't big up the program enough, man. And it worked for me at a young age. And, you know, it's the same as the Christian thing, right? Not every member of the fellowship represents the fellowship. Not every member of a church represents Jesus Christ. Yeah, because it don't work like that. Yeah, it's just like that. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The 12 steps work. Don't mean that people won't come in and relapse, and that don't mean the 12 steps don't work.
No.
Yeah, not everyone who goes to church is going to be like never ever going to sin again, or not going to be rolling around in habitual sin. Don't mean that the scripture ain't true. Don't mean that Jesus ain't Lord. Don't mean that miracles don't happen just because someone says they're Christian and is robbing money out the basket. Don't mean that Jesus ain't real. No. Just shows how human we are. Like, and the addict is very similar to like flesh, and also things like acting out is very similar to like sinning. It's all like the same. It's all the same wording. It's all character defects is like that is like dealing with where you're at in terms of your kind of, it's all very similar, man. Yeah. You know, and it all goes back to the same stuff. So, but yeah, I'm addicted to recovery, and I'm also addicted to God and the Lord and his love and his mercy, man. So
thank you so much for coming in, man. That's just, fantastic.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
No problem, mate. Great story. Look, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to that. If you've got any questions for Sonny, fire them over on the Instagram. Where can they find us, mate?
We are at Addicted to Recovery Podcast. Addicted to Recovery Podcast.
Thanks again for coming in, Sonny.
No worries. And I love you guys, and no matter what, just, keep listening, keep coming back. And if you're struggling, get to a meeting and just reach out, man. Share. If any of you out there feeling like down, suicidal, or feeling like you want to pick up or use, reach out to someone, man. It's never too late. It's never too late to open your mouth and connect with someone, you know. So I love you loads, and keep it moving. Yeah.
Peace.
Cheers.